7-5. This was the result of the previous 2 meetings between FaZe and INTZ in BR6. In the first match, the victory was with INTZ, while in the second, the 3 points went to Astro and company. But the story of the last game could have been another in favour of INTZ, since FaZe had a considerable advantage with the score. However, they almost let Triumph run away from them in what should have been an easy win.
Último confronto com a INTZ, conseguimos encaixar bem ali as nossas defesas, viramos 5-1. Porém, nos nossos ataques a gente não conseguiu encaixar. Eles estavam com as defesas deles bem sólidas. Foi basicamente um round ou outro ali que a gente teve uma leitura ali no mid-game que garantiu a vitória pra gente.
Esse game contra a FaZe, a gente fez uns ataques muito ruins. Eu acho que a gente tomou 5-1 na parte do ataque. E se a gente tivesse encaixado uns 2, 3 ataques, a gente tinha levado o mapa Oregon, que é um mapa de conforto nosso.
But today's match doesn't promise any comfort for INTZ. After all, the team has been presenting irregular performances in this third and final stage of BR6. Furthermore, INTZ will now have a confident opponent who sits in first place in the standings. The task is tough. Figure out how to identify one of the many strategies FaZe may employ and neutralize it. Easier said than done.
Acho que vai ser um jogo pegado, contra a FaZe é sempre complicado. Eles têm sempre umas plays na carta ali que o cameraman puxa, que o cara tira do bolso as playzinhas dele e ganha jogo, mas eu acredito que a gente consegue sair com a vitória.
O jogo de hoje eu acho que vai ser mais difícil, eles estão com um time mais sólido devido ao tempo, né? No último split eles ainda estavam adaptando o Zac no time, então agora eu acho que eles já vão estar com um time mais bem entrosado.
Whether INTZ will have enough in the tank to challenge FaZe, or whether Astro's FaZe will make short work of the struggling INTZ is the question on everybody's lips. It will be answered right now as INTZ take on FaZe.
Welcome back to coverage of the BR6 here. Riley and I joined by Gio and Ollie. We're going to get stuck into game number 2. Now, we've already characterised today as a bit of a David versus Goliath. Day we expected NIP versus... I just remembered, actually. We talk about David versus Goliath as in, like, Goliath's going to stop... David wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. So, like, we're here. Oh, what a surprise. W7M 87 just went down to NIP. But it's like, yeah, well, David beats
Right.
Goliath.
That's what's meant to happen, yeah.
We're bigging up Goliath. But no, listen, this we've got a couple of, I guess you could say, lopsided matchups here. Although we certainly had a surprise in our first one. If you just joined us, welcome. By all means, welcome. We saw NIP just squeaking out W7M 87 in maximum overtime. We move now to a similar, a match that we have sort of similar expectations to, FaZe Clan versus INTZ. Now, Ollie, I'll start with you here talking about these two teams. FaZe Clan has been doing incredibly well for themselves at the moment. They're right up the top end of town. We can move into the map veto here. You can talk us through how they're going to be approaching this matchup against INTZ, as I think, again, it's clear to say, the favourites here.
Yeah, FaZe have got to be the favourites coming into this one. Obviously, they're sitting there at the top of the leaderboard at the moment. Let's see where we choose to go here. INTZ going to remove Chalet. Clubhouse being banned out as well. I tell you what, we must be in for a ton of Clubhouse come the Cobra Elite 6 because we have not seen any. We have seen, I think, one game on Clubhouse. That is it. And that is a bread and butter map. We haven't even seen that much Oregon. The map variety has been really nice this stage. But alas, no Clubhouse here in this one. We'll move on through, see what else is getting taken out. Bank removed, Oregon removed, Cafe removed. Okay, so we could be going to Coastline or Villa, but we are going to be headed over to a Coastline. So, a little bit of a strange one. I'm kind of surprised to see FaZe want to go to a Coastline, just given that we don't really see FaZe play a lot of Coastline. But then again, we don't see INTZ play a great deal of it either.
Well, this is a map that we've seen. We saw a ton of it in stage number 2, Gio. Yeah. You'll remember, of course, we were there. I mean, every other game it felt like was being played on Coastline, but
There's a lot.
It's kind of fallen out of favor recently. We haven't seen so much of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is the thing. Whenever the map pool changes, like, there's always just such a shift. The thing that I find crazy about this is, so INTZ versus FaZe, we put this as like such a top versus bottom kind of game, but actually in both the stages so far, they've been 7-5s each time. In stage 1, it went to INTZ, and that was on Clubhouse. In stage 2, it went to FaZe, and that was on Oregon. So Coastline is really out of the norm for how these two teams specifically have played against each other in the past too. It's not even just about the individual teams themselves. It is these two teams have played on those more methodical maps so far, and they have always been really close games. So are we suddenly going to veer off the course for how that usually goes? I mean, FaZe, as we've acknowledged, have been doing extremely well in this stage so far. But I don't know, the INTZ has always seemed to be their Achilles heel, right? But this is a very different environment for them to have that battle.
Well, we'll see how it goes. INTZ at the moment sitting at 2-4, I believe. They went down to Furia 7-1 yesterday, so they'll be looking to bounce back after that drubbing there at the hands of Furia, a team that just really don't seem to be stopped. On the other side of things, FaZe 5-1. They won in maximum overtime against Team 1 yesterday. Ollie, they're prime. They're ready to go. They really were tested yesterday, but they look to be in good nick, and we saw a hell of a contest when they went up against Team 1, and we saw some great siege being played by this team.
We really did, and FaZe have been another one of those teams that have really developed. Obviously, they missed out on going to the Mexico Major, and I think that affected them in quite a big way. Off the back of that, they've recently picked up an analyst, and you can feel it in the way that cameraman gives his interviews. It's twice now that he's brought it up, fairly unprompted by us, where he's sort of gone on about how much more free time he's getting and how much more time he's getting to relax and focus on his own game, because the analyst is now doing a lot of the really sort of heavy lifting in terms of understanding what their opponent's going to do. And you can almost feel the weight of relief off the team's shoulders because of that, because they've now just got to focus on playing. They seem to be able to provide much more consistent results, and as a result of that, the whole team is performing. They're all doing very well indeed. Everyone is above a 1 rating, and the rating doesn't differ too much. Bullet's currently the top. He's sitting at a 1.2, and this is the best we've ever seen Bullet really play. Couple that with Cyber. Cyber's also having a great stage. He's plus 12 on KD at the moment. Now, that's a very dangerous duo that we used to speak quite highly of. Souls, I've always had him as one of the more consistent support players, and now with Cameraman being able to make more contribution, it really seems like this team has been enabled by getting a little bit more help from the back room. And for a team that's already sitting at the top of the standings, it's got to be a dangerous place to be.
Absolutely. And, you know, one of the things we've already talked about today is that sense of cohesion, right? A team being able to play as a team, not as a group of 5 individuals, everyone knowing where they are, knowing what they should be doing, accountable to everyone else. And I think that what you're saying, Ollie, about that, the analyst sort of opening up just, I guess, you know, a bit of extra RAM in these players' heads, right? They don't have to worry about some of the stuff that was otherwise on their minds. They can just play the best siege possible, knowing that the reins are being held by someone else in that regard, and that's got to be a positive for them. And you can see here the energy is very high. Certainly,
What are they doing?
I think are they cosplaying like the Star Wars kid with the broom handle in his garage? Maybe I don't know what's going on.
They're
Look,
doing
you know,
something.
Gio, every team has its sort of pre-warm-up ritual. Some people, you know, they like to get in a huddle and talk about the game. Others seem to pretend to be, you know, bygone gin. I don't know exactly what's going on there with these blokes, but they are having a good time. And look, it's good to see that kind of energy, right, Gio? It's good to see that they're relaxed and well, I'm not going to say focused, but they're having a good time at least.
This is the thing that I've always loved about FaZe, is they always seem to, and especially when so much of I think their mentality comes from cameraman being that guy who's providing it, but they just always seem to be in a good mood. They don't get really downtrodden or angry or sad. They have such a good, I don't know, joyful way of going about everything. It seems, as to some people, might seem kind of irrelevant, but it is great. It just goes to show they love their job, they're doing well, like, it's awesome.
But, you know, you see this in professional, like, meat space sports ball games as well, where, you know, heads start to go down and all of a sudden, you know, buckets and hoops and goals and whatever else they do in that absolutely inscrutable part of the world, you know, those numbers don't, they start to flag. And, you know, this is a really big part of any team sport, E or otherwise, is morale, is feeling like you're part of a group, feeling appreciated, feeling supported, knowing that your teammates have got your back through thick or thin. And it's really, really good to see that these blokes are in a great position psychologically. And look, we're going to see how that translates to the battlefield here. We're going to head down to Coastline right now. It's time to get underway with match number 2. Playday 8 continues here. Off to the beach, my friends, with FaZe Clan taking on INTZ. Let's get underway with, of course, the casters, Gio and Ollie.
Thank you, Riley. Gio, I think I could say that this is literally my favourite map.
Literally?
Yeah.
I get it.
You get it? You like it?
I get it.
I'm glad.
It's your favorite map? It's this is the map that I actually wanted removed from the map pool. I'm still salty about Consulate being taken out because that was the best map.
Yeah, honestly, like RIP Consulate, it needs to come back.
I missed
sooner rather than later, please. Ooh, all right. Do you know why
Old
this
school.
is? Well, do you know why this is literally my favorite map?
Because we don't ban heart breaches?
I'll stop. Yeah, I'll stop. It's because Thatcher doesn't get banned, and sometimes you'll see a Hibana ban, but it's a little bit more uncommon. But look at these bans. Look at the variety we're about to see here.
That is a ban with, like, you know, it's got some peppers in it. It's got some garlic salt.
Okay.
Got a good amount. Maybe some cumin. Got some seasoning. All right, Valkyrie's boring. But other than that, they're all. Simon's telling me that this sounds repulsive. I don't know. I was just picking the first things that I could think of that are in the spice rack. Anyway, interesting bans. This is what we've been waiting for so long for. The Lion ban, kind of an old school one, especially here on Coastline. Flores found himself being banned a decent amount on Coastline. I think a lot of that is when you consider, the space that's available in the map and how much utility you can get rid of with a Flores drone. But if you consider, for example, a kitchen defense, you just send it down in the drone hole in bathroom. You can put so much pressure on anchors that are present in this game that have a really, really pivotal position to hold with just one Flores drone. It's huge. So you get rid of that, and your anchor play can be better. But the thing with anchor play is there are a couple of anchors available in the game, but in this one of them's taken out. Smoke, that's the next spicy ban. Pretty juicy if you ask me. Having those Toxic Babe canisters is really, really huge when you consider certain sites that you want to be preventing people from coming into. I'm thinking if you're trying to defend service down in kitchen. I'm thinking if you're trying to defend hookah up here on the top floor. Like, that's a big ban as well. And then, as I say, Valkyrie's boring, so I'm not going to discuss it.
It's unrealistic to say that a smoke ban gives the attackers an extra 45 seconds, but it certainly gives the attackers a lot of extra time. And on a map that already is a good map for attackers, it's welcome here. The Lion ban, obviously, it's going to slow things down somewhat, but it isn't really too much to worry about. Teams get by without a Lion plenty. It's really that smoke and that ability to deny a lot of area, and it means that you can spend a lot more time on your sort of initial setup before you go in for an execute and not have to worry about those Toxic Babe canisters. Sure, you've still got mirror windows, C4s to worry about, and other things of that nature, but you don't have the Toxic Babes to worry about, and that's really where a lot of the problem comes in. So, kicking things off, FaZe, they're going to be on the defense here, defending into hookah. Nades thrown from below. It's a speciality trait. It's a very technical thing to do, and some players have got it down a little bit better than others. We've seen Hornetow do a great job so far this stage with them, but unfortunately they're unable to make one land significantly. Zach, we can see he has missed his opportunity. Cameraman not too worried there about just walking away while he's hitting the reload on that one. Nades just not being cooked quite long enough.
Everyone's still up. Extension's been done all the way to the other side of the map, and that's where the mirror window is over by Penthouse and Theatre. Still hasn't been cleared out as far as I'm aware. So that could be something that they'll have to worry about a little bit later if Astra is just allowed to persist. Drone. Been lobbed all the way up. guess that Twitch drone. Well, I was gonna say the default camera's still up. Could have used the Twitch drone to get rid of that, but I'm sure it's on its way to specifically get rid of certain utility. And Zach will be the first one to fall. He's actually been a big player for INTZ of late, so I'd say that's a pretty valuable pick, especially considering it's the thinker. But just the way he's been playing, you know, he's someone who I'd want to have alive if I'm INTZ.
Yeah, for sure. Zach's been bringing a bit of value here for INTZ. And for all that we went on about them being able to spend a good deal of time, they still need to get moving here inside of this round. Hornetow will trade off on to Cameraman. I believe the C4 that we can hear is going to be Cameraman's, as he did have one in his hand, and it doesn't look as though INTZ are all too concerned about it. Drunk's going to make his way through into VIP, announces himself. Cyber goes for the frag, but is immediately taken down. Bullet picks up his second on the round before being traded as well. 3 versus 2 now. Live ping information for Astro to work from. He'll hit the head of Drunks. Big window repel, always a powerful situation. VNX trying to bait out this plant. The C4 comes in, but I believe it's shot out mid-air as we did not hear an explosion there. VNX is going to try and confirm that plant, and he will do so. What is Hornetow doing on the window? How is he allowed to make that rotation?
That was that was really weird, because he was actually in an okay position to be able to hold that line of sight, but the fact that Souls could get in and just narrowly get the angle onto the planting player, which secured the round for FaZe Clan, but had Hornetow been... I feel like Souls could have been killed before he had the opportunity to do that.
I'm almost speechless for it. All it needs, upside down repel, hold the angle. You get an upside down repel and you will be able to get an angle onto that. If you can't get the angle onto it, you need to pre-fire. You need to do something that's just going to deter Souls from sneaking by and picking up that one kill. All Souls needs to do there is land one shot, and he's won the round, and that's exactly what he was able to do. You know, you're talking very narrow angles. There's got to be something more that Hornetow can do, even if he just jumps in and tries to assist that way.
Mate, I feel like just standing in the aqua doorway would have been better.
Yeah, probably at that point.
Just be like, hey, shoot me! At least at that point, you buy enough time for the plant to go down, right?
Shame. A big shame for... It's only round number 1, but already we're seeing a clutch come out of FaZe. And again, you imagine if there was a smoke in play, INTZ would have been screwed. INTZ had no time whatsoever. And if they'd have had to deal with any sort of toxic babe canisters or any other denial, they would have really been running things fine, and they would have had to move a lot quicker. And I worry that would have forced a few more mistakes in what was already quite a rushed early and mid-round.
Well, let's see how this next round goes. We're getting to see a Thatcher. Pretty exciting. Unless we saw one last round, but I don't remember there being a Thatcher.
No, we did.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, he's speed locked onto the Thatcher.
All right, I wasn't paying enough attention then, clearly. I was more... I'll tell you what, when I saw Vitz was on the Hibana last round, I was like, oh yeah, you know, Coastline getting a Hibana played, not getting banned out, and I was just thinking about that. Regardless, I love getting to see a Thatcher. I feel like we're very lucky. Now, this is one of our new walls here on the slightly changed up Coastline. You actually have this reinforceable wall on VIP. That's what they're breaching right now. That's why Cyber's just trying to hold this angle. He can't actually quite land the shot, though. He's going to have to back off a little bit. I don't know if he saw that there was more than one player out there, but I suspect even if he didn't, he's going to know.
Plenty of information now can be gathered. With that wall open, it's more difficult to hold into that top floor, and I doubt that anybody from FaZe will really be occupying VIP significantly now. Although INTZ aren't immediately looking to take advantage, we are seeing a slow approach in upstairs.
Oh.
Drunks. That's what happens when Thatcher's banned all the time. You forget the way
how
that
to
the
play
projectile works. Zach is going to find his first, but finds himself in an instant 1-for-1 trade with Cyber. Bullet cleans up onto Hornetow, so advantage FaZe in the opening exchange. Top floor control now gained, but only a minute to work with.
Still drones going out and about. See what they can find. Remember, of course, this is a kitchen attack, so they're going to have to make their way actually down to the site itself at some point. Very important in general to gain control of what's going on up here, but look at this. The floor isn't even open. A lot of times you would have a sledge. You would have already been working on this by now. They can get going with that, you know, the soft breaching charge, but that's not tons. That's not going to open the entirety of the floor. You're not going to have tons of control of those vertical angles like you usually would for a typical attack here. Also got Bullet right down below who's going to have to be dealt with. Vit's trying to get in. It feels like there's just so much here for INTZ to deal with that they just don't have enough time to do.
Again, really running short on the clock. 15 seconds. Diffuser cold. Hatches being watched. And a 2 versus 4 to try and contend with. Drunk's going to deal some good damage, but he won't even be able to finish off the kill on his cameraman before Bullet flies out of the window and picks him off. VNX, 1 impactless. Can it be 2? No, misses the shot with the revolver. Another round there going to FaZe. FaZe's patience really paying off for them here.
Very much so. I think that's one of the things that I've been enjoying about FaZe Clan at the moment is just they know when to pull back, and they have improved that discipline. This is exactly what I said the other day. Their discipline has improved so much. I mean, even when we saw at the beginning of that round, Cyber trying to hold on to the angle out of the out of Hall of Fame onto the VIP balcony, and then he kind of runs back. Here we go. We actually get to see. He runs back immediately to go and station himself behind the mirror window because he knows the wall has been breached. He didn't manage to get that kill. He's not going to hang around and try and get the kill. He's not going to put himself in danger's way. He knows at this point that they're going to be able to make their way in. So where's the most valuable place for him to be? Behind that mirror window where he can at least try and hold Master a little bit longer. Now that's something that a lot of teams still don't have a full grasp on how to do effectively. And it's something the FaZe Clan have monumentally improved upon, particularly in this stage.
Well, let's see how far they can push that patience today. Picking up a couple of rounds here on the defense is a very good sign. Something that I'm a little bit less keen on is the fact that they've actually picked Penthouse and Theatre now. Whilst we have seen changes to this map, most notably the VIP wall change, there's been a couple of slight changes to the way that angles are gained from the roof, and there's a lot of barricadable window frames, shall we say now. But the biggest flaw of this site remains, and it is this window. Cyber going to throw out an alibi there. Now that's just going to be frustration, honestly, on the screens of the attackers, and there ain't going to be a lot that they're going to be able to do about it because he just threw it miles away. Probably yeeted that one. So something to consider. Hornetow, minus 10 HP. Gets himself a little bit too close to the Electroclawed wall. Shouldn't be too much of a problem to get this wall open. Obviously, with Thatcher being in play, the Electroclaw is almost just like a mute point. As we'll see, the wall should be opened fairly quickly. Cyber not going to be in a position to trick. He's going to lose one of his ADSs, though. Needs to be cautious. Don't think that VNX actually got the second one off there, but in the confusion, the wall has been opened.
Finally got there. They can check on these yokai drones, so they know where all of these drones are going to be coming in from. They'll, of course, be acutely aware that this wall onto Hall of Fame is going to get opened too. That's going to apply some extra pressure onto the team. Cyber trying to get aggressive a little bit, peeking out onto the hatch. Doesn't see anything. Gains a bit of damage, so he, again, has backed off. There's still utility that needs to be cleared within there. We've got this Prisma behind the shield in Hall of Fame itself. Those are going to have to be removed. We have the corridor being held onto. That's also protected by a shield too. INTZ have got a minute to deal with it.
INTZ really aren't making a great deal of progress here in the early part of the round. They're leaving a lot of things late. Zach finds himself involved in that opening engagement again. Hornetow immediately with the trade-off though. VNX gives himself away, flicking onto the alibi. Still needing to push in onto the site here, and INTZ don't seem anywhere like being close. Cameraman's going to pick up a freebie onto Hornetower as a severe lack of information costs INTZ yet again. Vitz does come through with the trade, and Drunks is going to hit the hatch drop, but immediately meets his fate. Souls to his head, Vitz with a desperate hop on in. They've not even been able to get open that theatre wall. He's got a lot of angles to contend with here. Picks up the first on to Astro. Is anybody else going to give him an opportunity here? Cyber gives the game away, but lands the shots for the second time. Cheeky pre-fire through the wall, but all he had to do was hold on to the door frame for a moment longer. FaZe looking pretty good here on the defense.
It feels a lot like INTZ have got this idea as to how they're going to get into the building and, breach onto whatever wall needs to be breached. But they spend so long doing it that what should be mid-round and late round end up being very rushed and not really cleanly executed. People get picked off and they don't have enough time to properly put into effect what it is they want to achieve because they've spent so much time doing the first half of their attack. That's what it seems to be for me because, when you've got these players of FaZe Clan who are still standing that late in the round, they feel perfectly comfortable to just deal with it when the INTZ players are actually making their push later on. They don't seem to be too challenged right now. So I think INTZ need to be kind of speeding up and expediting their process at the kind of first half of the round so that they are in a much better and more comfortable and more confident position for whatever happens in the latter half.
Things not looking great here for INTZ. FaZe have completed a full sweep and they're actually going to push it one further. They're going to take us into Blue and Sunrise Bar. So really flexing here on Coastline. Not feeling the need to stick to a specific site rotation. Keeps INTZ really guessing as well. And I think INTZ at this point, whatever their game plan is, it needs some heavy adjustment. They need that, as you mentioned, Gio, that early part of the round to be a little bit more fruitful for them. They don't seem to be getting a great deal of map control. And it is in part due to that opening engagement. It's not something that they're consistent in. They're very often finding it to be quite a scrappy affair.
Yeah.
Especially with the confidence that FaZe are gaining. We can see that it's something that's just growing round after round as their extensions become even more flamboyant.
Like, okay, cool, you're getting on with the breach, that's good. It's something that they've done successfully a few times, but you consider what's set up over in Hookah, for example. It's like, you've got to clear all of that out. There are these shields, there's ADS, there's the electrification. You've got to get rid of all of that, and that seems to be the part that INTZ are not finding so much success in. FaZe Clan are well spread out. There seems to be someone everywhere there needs to be. Whatever avenue or angle needs to be protected, someone from FaZe Clan is there.
They're doing a particularly good job of holding a lot of the map with just placing sort of one person in each room. And things like this triple wall or quad wall getting open at this point with a Thatcher available is still fairly slow. It's slow progress. This is a double bar attack. You need to be getting this top floor control much sooner than this and trying to work that vertical. Finally, we're going to start to see a little bit of pressure come in, but the kills are going to start to go FaZe's way. Astro even gets as brave as to peek on out, and Cameraman's on a tear. Takes down his second in Zach. Hornetower's got himself into the site, but realistically, what good can he do? The diffuser in No Man's Land is all the way in Aquarium. Hornetower may have site control here, but he's going to have to fight and wait for Vitz to fight to him. That looks like an increasing possibility, although Astro is going to shut Hornetower down in the site. It's going to leave a low health Vitz with a lot to do. There's going to be a bit of information available for him here, but he's got 2 engagements to try and break down. With the patient way that we've seen FaZe play, I don't think that they're going to give it up so lightly. Vitz gets a glimpse and hits his shots. Cameraman caught looking the wrong way. The call out will now be made, though. Astro, full HP. is to try and play this one fairly cautiously. There are more flashbangs available. Vitz is actually going to land the shot. Astro went for the aggressive hop over the bar. He only needed to keep himself safe for a couple more seconds.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. I thought the FaZe clan were going to be able to take that, especially as they had the man advantage at the end. And unfortunately, that is that kind of classic Astro play from stages past, which they seem to have mostly weaned out. But I even remember Cameraman talking about it last stage, saying sometimes Astro just, he's kind of hard to keep the reins on, and he'll do something like that and just overstep a little bit. And it seems like they've worked on it so much this stage and made massive improvements, but, you know, sometimes it's the true Astro is going to come out. And I feel like that was just an example of that. You didn't need to move. You didn't need to poke your head out. You did it anyway. It's not the end of the world for FaZe, of course, and it was still a very tight win for INTZ. So it's not one that's going to, you know, I think it's not one that FaZe kind of going to look at and worry about, but it's still frustrating.
Still a 2 versus 4 for INTZ. That's the impressive thing. You know, you can place the blame on Astro in terms of, you know, fluffing the last 1v1, or even Cyber for looking the wrong way and just getting caught kind of out of position. But it was a 4 versus 2 before any of that was a factor. And I think FaZe have got to rewind and look a little bit deeper about just how they got themselves into that 1 versus 1 after having such a very good extension on that hold and being able to gain a lot of the kills and having such a good advantage. So, again, as you say, I don't think that they're going to be sweating it too much right now, but something certainly to be mindful of. No real surprise to see FaZe switching things up here and heading back up to Lucrum Billiards. They were much more comfortable up here.
I mean, this is still kind of, it's remained the primary site for almost every team. FaZe Clan had a really good extension on their defense as well for this site. See how well that gets played in this one. Zach was the first death back in round number 1. Now, I'm hoping he'll be able to survive out just a little bit longer, because having the Thinker alive, I think, is going to be really beneficial for them. Zach also just does need the opportunities to kind of hit a few more shots. He's a really good gunner when he's on, you know, when he's on. You know what I mean? He just hasn't been so much. There's some utility that's actually been cleared. That's nice to see. That's something that INTZ have been a little bit slow with so far. To have the Prisma and the Shield both taken down takes away a lot of that impunity from Astro.
It does feel like INTZ are trying to move a little bit quicker here. You do just get that impression that they are going to aim to work a little bit faster. We can kind of see that in the positions that they're holding now. We've got Drunks on the Tarps Repel. C4 going to swing out there, but it won't land. Zach could be a big player here. Barbwire is going to get broken. I'm not sure if Astro has heard that. I think he has. He's going to turn his attention immediately to those stairs, but Drunks is also holding on to him somewhat. The flash knock successful, but the vase is going to get in the way. That's terrible timing. Zach picks himself up too. The plant's going down as well. Hornets out this time with some good cover on the window. Cyber below in a 1v5. An impressive execute from INTZ here. And what realistically is Cyber going to be able to achieve? I'm not sure how he's not been able to find the head there. He maybe gets himself one as Vitz borderline gives himself up. All in the effort to gather the info though. Second kill coming in now as well. Hornetal the next to fall. Certainly possible. 20 seconds. It's not beyond the realms of possibility, but it's going to be very unlikely. 3 angles being held there onto the bottom of Cool Vibe stairs. It was walking into a firing line for poor old Astro, and finally we do see a very good execute there from INTZ.
Yeah, and hey, what do you know? Zach staying alive and having the opportunity to get a couple kills turned out to be actually pretty influential for the outcome of the round. Just like I said. That was a really nice round from INTZ as well. It was a clean plant. They managed to set themselves up pretty well. The way that they got rid of the utility upstairs and, yeah, it was, I suppose, site setup. Like, opening themselves up, the space that they needed to be able to take that, that's something that they had really struggled with in previous rounds, and it seems like they finally got their heads in it for that. And I think it's interesting because at this point, you know, if you're FaZe Clan and you know that INTZ have now been able to do that, if they do it again, does that mean you're going to have to start having more proactive rotations? Because in all of the rounds so far, FaZe Clan have left their extended defenders out for quite a bit of time because they've known that it's very valuable for them to have them still there. And they haven't needed to have an extreme number of people on any of the sites because it's just not being threatened hugely. But is that going to have to change now? Are they going to have to start making rotations a little bit earlier to deal with the fact that INTZ have managed to get themselves in?
Nice drone there from Zach to gather a bit of intel as to what's going on inside of office. How long do you think until we see a petition for that vase to be removed, Gio? Because I'm not saying that that vase and the debris that said vase created is the reason that INTZ won the round, but I'd like to see that round play out where that vase isn't a thing, because I don't think that Astro misses that shot.
Well, my dad is the CEO of Ubisoft, so I'll let him know. Oh my god, okay, that was an interesting decision to just jump all through the kitchen window and like 4 kills coming in at once. Drunks is going to be adding on as he tries to control the courtyard, but Astro is quick to respond. Now he is the only one left. It's a 1 versus 2 here. Hornetown is going to get in with the plant. They have had the finger boost as well. So again, things working against FaZe Clan.
This is terrible for FaZe. They've managed to find themselves in a really unfortunate spot. Astro, nowhere to go. You can see he's trying to move through the desk. Zach's played that really well as well. That's what I like to call out as a proper ranked play. He's heard the primary weapon be depleted of ammunition. He's heard the sound of the pistol, and he knows that times are tough for Astro. And he has waited for his moment to pounce. Astro has got nowhere to go. He can go forwards, he can go backwards, he could have gone right, but he was never getting away from Zach and that inevitable final kill. INTZ speedrunning round number 6, and it's going to bring us level. 3 rounds apiece for these two teams, especially with the way that this game started. That is somewhat of a surprise.
I just love how you say he knew that times were tough. Like, things are getting real hard.
Oh, Astro was down bad there, I think.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. But anyway, sides have switched, as you say. Penthouse Theatre, first place that INTZ are gonna go. Feeling pretty ballsy here. They bring along a Lord Chanker as well to go with it. I'm liking this. I mean, Tashanka can just do so much site setup so quickly. Obviously, remembering, of course, that smoke is not available. He has been banned out. So unless you want to be bringing along an Echo, Tashanka's really your best option for having someone who can deny space or be a plant denial. And Tashanka can deny a lot more space in one go than Echo can. He doesn't have the same kind of intel gathering, and Tachanka is very fast at literally setting up the site, you know, being able to destroy a lot of those soft walls. So it makes sense why they would want to bring him. I'm very interested to see where INTZ are actually going to station a lot of these defenders. They've got a couple roamers on there, so I suspect there obviously will be some off-site play. The question is, how fast are FaZe Clan going to be able to pressure into that site? As soon as that VIP wall gets opened and they can start moving in, especially if they get rid of some utility pretty quickly, then it could end up being quite tough.
It's going to be nice to see the difference between the speed of approach here. It's something that INTZ took until round sort of 4, 5, and 6 to really start to get some speed injected into those takes. FaZe going for a very different approach on the whole in terms of how they're going to approach these reinforced and electrified walls. Instead of opting for the Thatcher, they're going for the classic Maverick combo. It's going to involve a Maverick and either the Skeleton Key from Cyber or the Lifeline from Zafir to actually get a lot of these walls open. It is effective. It's a little bit more time consuming. You get the nades from Maverick as well, and with how much Cameraman plays Maverick, it's probably as much of a personal preference on gun as anything that they want to try and maintain him on there. They've souls as well for the Hibana, but they're really hell-bent on getting this wall open by another means. strange sort of T-shape that has been drawn. It's going to give lines of sight, at least from the rappel, but there's going to be no meaningful transition that can be made through there. Not that it's necessarily required at this point, as there are players inside of Hall of Fame seriously stacking up.
He's just recovering from that stun. He wants to hold on to the angle, and it works as he brings down Cyber. Now he knows that there could be others coming through. The conflagration is holding Souls back for now. He's relatively safe, but again, because of that strange Maverick hole that's been made, that line of sight can be held from outside, but it will be kills coming in from FaZe Clan to follow up. That weakens INTZ in comparison to the attackers, and you can just see this Tachanka is sending out as much fire and flames as possible to hold them back.
Very effective as well. Drunks is doing a great job. He's only got one Molotov left, so he's not going to be able to do too much for much longer. And there's still quite a bit of time here to burn. With VNX falling, the pressure is going to increase somewhat. Drunks lands one shot onto Souls, but is unable to hit the finishing blow. The plant is now going down, and he's just jiggling for information. Zach's been down, so it is all down to Drunks. Attempts the swing, but Astro is there to shut him down. He's got the LMG. No danger of running out of ammo on that one. He's able to keep tap firing as much as he likes. Not a clear-cut round by FaZe, but one that they're able to scrape by.
There were parts of the way that INTZ were playing that I thought were pretty good. As you noted, the way that Tachanka was playing was actually quite effective. And it's funny because I feel like so many times that I see Tachanka get played, he's one of the earliest to be brought down, and we never get a full example of how he can be used to hold down a side. So this was a pretty good example of that. You know, he was holding back a lot of the progress that FaZe Clan could make. The problem is there just wasn't enough follow-up from the rest of the team. And there wasn't enough support to be able to punish those members of FaZe Clan who had been trapped in their positions because of that Tachanka. And there's only so long that you can hold those people back for. Eventually they'll make their way in, they'll get the plant down, and INTZ just didn't have the manpower to be able to deal with that.
Well, FaZe have got a narrow lead for a time. We'll see if they can extend that to 2 rounds. I think they're going to start to shape things up here. I'm a little bit surprised to see INTZ immediately switch off and go to a different site. I think whilst Penthouse isn't a great choice, I like the fundamental idea of what INTZ were trying to do there. And I especially thought that Cameraman had maybe messed up that breach somewhat as well. I think if that had been something that they could have actually moved through, it would have been a bit of a game changer. Especially in terms of removing the player off 90. But we'll see how this one plays out. Cameraman sent the cameras very early here as Hornetal responds with a pre-fire onto the blue bar window. And Hornetal was there to answer back.
So for now, INTZ are going to be sitting stronger. I wonder how much that loss of the Maverick is going to affect them. They still, of course, have Hibana if they do decide to be opening up any of the walls. I mean, if Office can get cleared out, then maybe the blue wall is an option. They do have a mirror window. They do not have a mirror window. I don't know why I just said that. They have an opening in the wall. There's a nice C4 coming out from Vitz to bring down Cyber, so it just continues on INTZ's dominion that they have on this round for now.
It's a slow and steady trickle, but it is certainly flowing the way of INTZ. Souls is in a position to get one back, however. Bullet joins him in that endeavor. Takes down Vitz very quickly. 3 versus 3. We have returned. Still, you get the impression that the advantage is with INTZ here. There's been quite a bit lost from FaZe. They've lost Cyber, most notably. Obviously, they've lost a couple of nades on the Maverick as well, but that upstairs control is going to be more difficult to gain now. And you're not going to be able to get Cyber in and try and skeleton key out a lot of that floor. Even though a lot of it's already open, it still means that the angles are there for the defenders to use. So as soon as you start to think about moving on into site, you need to be cautious of what is going on above. And that isn't something that FaZe have been in a position to really deal with at all. You can see with the way that they're setting up now that Hornetal is probably going to have a big part to say in how this round plays out. And Zach, some fantastic position in here. Zach has got a bit of info to be going off. He knows that they're going to be pushing on through. Hornetow above as well. Hornetow gets himself caught out. Zach in there instantly with the frag onto Astro. Drunks, 20 seconds left. He knows that he needs to keep an eye on the doorway, but Souls is actually going to be getting that plant down. Where is Zach? Is he in position to do anything about it? We do see a drop for a desperate bit of intel, and that intel proves worth. Drunks, he is able to pick up those final couple of kills. We saw Hornetow dropping off from upstairs through that quad wall into the courtyard just in an attempt to gather any information that he could for his team.
Well, we're getting closer and closer to that scoreline that these two teams have always floated around, and that is the 7-5. Things being very, very even here. It is funny how, you know, we came in today thinking this is the day where we have so many matchups where one team seems to be decidedly better than the other. And that's just not what we're seeing that much. Now, the thing that we have to consider with this matchup, of course, is FaZe Clan. They have already qualified for the Copa Elite 6. They don't need to give anything crazy away. So we're probably not seeing, you know, the peak cerebral ideas that FaZe Clan have for this map or whatever it is. But it's still somewhat of a surprise to see it be this tight. I'm wondering if either of these two teams are at some point going to pull away, or if this is just going to be a constant back and forth until they get to overtime.
Honestly, feels like it could be a back and forth. FaZe started off really strong, but INTZ have picked it up over the course of the rounds. And they've really started to bring a little bit more competition into the mix. It's nice to not see like a heavy sort of side favor either. It's not as though we've seen INTZ do particularly well on the attack and FaZe do the same. It's been 3-3, and I think it will remain that way. There's going to have to be something that changes fairly significantly here. But INTZ are starting to look a little bit more comfortable now that they've got themselves onto the defense. See how they choose to approach these next couple of rounds. I'm sure that this take is going to be fairly similar to the previous take we saw FaZe try and employ when attacking into Penthouse and Theatre. This time they're of course going to be attacking it into Billiards.
One is out, taking a ton of damage there. I don't even know where that was from. But either way, that's gonna be a little bit of a pain. INTZ have these roamers out, but they're not really anchoring down anywhere like we saw FaZe Clan do when they were defending on this site, for example, behind the mirror window and just sitting in one place. For INTZ, it's more like they've got Zach who's wandering around. They're going to have VNX as well. Well, they're not going to have Zach who's wandering around anymore. He's been taken out. FaZe Clan getting on with their roam clear pretty effectively. Question is, what do INTZ do here? Are they going to start bringing people back to the site, or are they still going to try and cause a nuisance for FaZe Clan elsewhere? Hornetow is still downstairs. He is so low, though.
Needs to be careful. It's not going to take all too much for Hornetow to lose his life here. It's got to be one of the slowest Coastline games I think we've ever watched, Gio.
It really feels that way, doesn't it?
It's like there's nothing until a minute. And then even then it's not even like blink and you miss it. It's still kind of slow. Like FaZe have got an advantage here. They've got a man advantage. They know that Hornetow's lit. And they're not pushing it. They're seriously taking the time. 50 seconds left and we'd start to see a couple more kills crawl on through. Astro and Bullet, they grab one apiece. Hornetow still low as that to make himself back up onto the site. He's going to be playing behind Vars, and he's going to be the last hope here for INTZ. Souls is going to start getting that plant down. Hornetow's location is known. This Vars, well, this time it doesn't hurt Astro's chances. He does get a glimpse through the debris, and the LMG does the rest for him.
Always that damn Vars, dude. That's always what it comes down to. But FaZe Clan now taking the lead. If they can take this next one, then of course they're going to be finding themselves on match point, and will maybe have the opportunity to round it out there. But it just doesn't seem to be definitive enough for anyone at this point to say that that's going to happen. INTZ are changing things up slightly, looking like they're going to bring the Thunderbird, unless, of course, they 6-pick off of it, which they are going to, but to whom?
Maybe back to Thunderbird, imagine.
Give me
The
something.
mind games.
Give me some mirror. Okay, remember a couple rounds ago when I was like, yeah, they have a mirror window, and they didn't have a mirror window. I was completely making it up. Now they're gonna have a mirror window.
You were just casting the future.
I was casting the future. Exactly. And that's gonna, I mean, I think for this site anyway, you kind of need a mirror window just because of the way that you have to hold it, you know, from this wall that separates the two bomb sites. You want to be holding on to, you know, bathroom hall of fame from there. You need to be using a mirror window, really. So my suspicion is that the reason that they've done the 6-pick is because they want FaZe Clan to think that they're going somewhere else. But this was their first site that they came to, and we are now on the 4th round of this half. Usually you kind of assume that you're going back to the first site again at this point.
Yeah, I think that FaZe know that something's up as well. If we think back to how this round went previously, we didn't really see any utility out of Souls on the Hibana. And we saw Cameraman either making some really good lines of sight or having a hard time opening up that VIP wall. You can pretty much take whichever option you like out of that and fit it to your own narrative. It really could have gone either way. This time, however, we see Cameraman on the Thatcher. And we see Souls still on the Hibana. So they're going to have the ability to open up that wall a lot easier this time. And that is going to be first on their to-do list. We see EMP going out. Hibana pellets going down. That should make things a little bit easier. Double EMP as well to bait out the Electroclaw. You love to see it. Not letting anything go to chance here.
These Prismas have been really popular today.
True.
FaZe Clan haven't really had a huge problem getting rid of them or working past them or anything like that. In their way in, BNX is having a little bit of problem with this drone. This could actually be a really uncomfortable place to play, actually, if FaZe Clan managed to surround him, whether that's through VIP and having someone come up from Cool Vibes, for example, to back off into the site at a little bit of a later point. That could be the undoing of BNX.
Maybe. He was able to find a kill from there previously. He's got a nice couple of lines of sight to be working with. Opening kill onto Cyber. Drunks immediately in a position to receive his headshot as well as Astro swings on in, and the trades level out. We level off at 3 apiece. Cameraman, opportunity here for a kill onto Hornetow. He's going to try and play his life for a little bit longer while his teammates do some work in on the site. Souls takes down Vit. Zach's still in a great position on this 90 to try and make something happen. Hornetow's won the engagement in luggage as well, which means that he can now look to make some sort of significant rotation, but it's now all going to be down to him. He's got a line of sight in onto VIP, but he misses a couple of his shots there and allows bullet to cross. We've got Souls still playing on the big window. That means that the diffuser's actually on rappel and it isn't going to be in a position to be planted, which could be... Oh no, excuse me. Souls has actually made himself into the site, and they must have switched positions as Bullet is now going to be out there on that rappel. He's going to be able to hold this cross fairly easily, and there we can see it all come down. Great post plant. Again, it will always be the biggest problem with this site on defense, that window.
Well, FaZe Clan used it pretty well, and look, FaZe Clan have been in a 2 versus 1 in this game and lost the 2 versus 1, so I didn't even want to assume that they were going to do it. But they did. They used that big window pretty well. Now we're going to be heading down into the kitchen. This is actually the first time that INTZ will have been visiting this site, and you can tell they clearly know things are a bit, I don't want to say dire, but, you know, they're on the line now. FaZe Clan have managed to make it to match point. Let's see what it is they do. Okay, interesting that Cyber's decided to actually switch out onto the Nomad. I guess INTZ have been not doing like super horrendous flanks, but they have been moving about quite a bit, and that is a lot of control and a lot of information that FaZe Clan could certainly use to their advantage.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt at this point, I don't think. Cyber just making that slight bit of a change. It could do something to restrict some of the roam that we see out of players like Hornetow. He's usually the one that's going to be fairly well off-site. Depends how they want to try and employ it here. They're going to be attacking into the kitchen. Mirror being brought again by Drunks. He's going to have an opportunity to hold on a little bit harder. Great drone from Astro. Just going to be on the shelf. It is spotted out. And a second time lucky to shoot it out. Position still known for VNX. Needs to be a little bit cautious. That mirror window looking into main lobby. Becoming a bit more popular, especially now with the changes in and around that service entrance and where you can and can't plant. You need to get in a little bit further now as an attacker to actually get that plant down. So it does make the kitchen a little bit more defensible.
Well, doing a lot of prep work here. Again, when we saw INTZ attacking onto this site, one thing that they really struggled to do was actually open up the VIP floor and apply a sufficient amount of pressure down onto the site itself. They spent a lot of time opening up the breach upstairs and then didn't have a ton of time to really do anything after that. So we'll see how FaZe managed to do that themselves, you know, especially with Cyber switching off of the buck. They don't have that direct soft breach that's going to be able to very quickly open up that floor.
Astro's having a cracking game so far. Again, finding himself in and amongst that entry. VNX taken out. Near the air jabs getting placed out as well, as Bullet is successful on the upside down repel. There's a question as to why Drunks has been caught out there. He seems fairly out of position. Just in the middle of the server. Vitz playing above. Still could have something to say here. More information coming on in though. It's only going to make things more difficult here for the remaining defenders. Hornetow reactivates the Suri gate, but is taken out by Cameraman. Cameraman's gone for an aggressive play there, hopping himself in through kitchen. And this is surely the end of the line for INTZ. They have done it before. They've been able to be successful in a 2 versus 4, but with the plank going down, now it's going to make things even more difficult. Cyber is going to pick off one onto Zach, and Vitz is currently concussed. The lifeline has hit home. Really doesn't know which way to turn, and FaZe are taking their time with this, given the advantage that they do currently have, but Cyber eventually says enough is enough, hits him with the swing, and closes out the game. We didn't quite get the scoreline we always get, Gio, but it was pretty close. This time it goes 7-4 to FaZe.
Hey, listen, after the first half, it seemed a little bit touch and go, I'll be honest. The fact that it went 3-3 at the half, and I was suddenly thinking, okay, this is not how I expected this game to go. The FaZe clan clearly not having too many issues with closing things out once they got to their attack. Just very well coordinated. Their time management, I think, is fair to say, was better than INTZ's was when they were on the attack themselves. And as you say, finally able to close that out. Not going for the traditional 7-5, but not too far off either.
No, it was, well, one of the scorelines that was as close as it could have got to being that 7-5, but I think FaZe will be pretty happy with that win. It looked relatively comfortable for them as soon as they got themselves onto the attack. They didn't really come up against much opposition there. INTZ, again, just struggling with a little bit of that coordination, and FaZe had some pretty clear and pretty nice ideas of how they wanted to approach things there. Some of their mid-round adaptations were really nice as well. We saw a little bit of movement there in terms of operator pick, with Cyber picking the Nomad in the last round, Cameraman moving from the Maverick onto the Thatcher, and all those things just assisted in giving FaZe a slightly easier time of things there. But we're going to bring Riley back in. We will get an interview with Cameraman, no doubt, and we can unpack this one a little bit further. It wasn't quite as close as game one, but it had its elements there.
Yeah, it certainly did. I'm interested to know your perspectives here, the two of you, on how FaZe are going to feel about that performance. Yesterday, we saw them absolutely thrash the opponents. This time, a much more closely contested game. Gee, I'll start with you. Do you think that FaZe look on that one and feel that they did well, or that they could have improved, or is that whether perhaps they wanted to land? What are your thoughts?
I think FaZe will look at that game and they will have gotten out of it what they wanted to. Because as I kind of alluded to in the cast, you know, FaZe, they're locked in. They know they're in the Copa Elite 6. They're number one seed. What do they really have to prove at this point? What do they have to give away? If I were FaZe, I wouldn't want to be giving anything away. So all they had to do really was just win the game, which they did. So to be honest, if I'm them, I'm feeling fine about it.
Sorry, I actually got mixed up there. They didn't thrash the opponents yesterday. They went 8-7. Sorry, I'm getting my wires crossed. I was thinking of Furia doing the 7-2 there. So yeah, I think you make a good point. Like there's not, I mean, to be honest, there's not a huge amount for them to play for, seeding and that sort of thing, Ollie. So, you know, in a situation like this, FaZe can walk away from that and go, well, you know, we didn't get pushed to max OT. We maybe gave away more games than we wanted, but I think they played good Siege, and I think they should be happy with that result, right?
I think FaZe are going to be fairly pleased with what's happened today. It seemed, you know, a very, very low pressure game for them, if you will. There was a couple of occasions there where it looked as though INTZ had a bit of a chance for maybe a couple more rounds. Not necessarily a win, but certainly a couple more rounds. But FaZe's experience really showing there, and I think that they're further expanding on this sort of new play style that they want to try and bring in. And we mentioned in the cast a little bit about the patience that they were deploying, little things like that really amount to quite a lot in the grand scheme of things.
Looks like we've got them standing by here. We can catch up with FaZe Clan now and talk, get their perspective on that match. We can bring in, I think it's Cameraman, who's going to be coming to hang out with us and have a chat. Thanks so much for joining us, Cameraman. Welcome to the broadcast here. Good to have you along. Second day in a row. Congratulations on the win. We're just trying to guess sort of how FaZe are feeling after that win, you know, and I guess it'd be good to get your perspective. Are you happy with that result? Do you feel like you could have done more, or was it a good place that you landed in a relatively low pressure environment?
Yeah, of course, I'm happy with the result, but we have a pretty bad history about throwing rounds, and I think yesterday and today these things happened. Against Team One, I think we could have won earlier, but we threw some rounds, and today was the same. We lost 4v2. I think was 4v2. The fourth round, and since then they started doing rounds in a row, and that was a bit of shame of us because the round was full control, was bad communication. So I know we are already qualified, but these things needs to be fixed and improved to be a major champion, to be a Copa Elite 6 champion. So we will work on that, and hopefully we will get better.
I think that maybe leads into what I wanted to ask Cameraman, or maybe an observation that I think Gio and I had on the cast, was that we thought that you were actually doing a really good job in some of those less aggressive plays and not giving things away. There were a few opportunities where we could actually see that was something that you were, as a team, actively working on. And it's sort of good to hear that you've acknowledged it here in the interview, because it is apparent sometimes when it's sort of going wrong for you, and that 4 versus 2 was a little bit of a problem, obviously. But overall, you do get that impression that that's something you're really trying to work on.
Yeah. What?
Right,
are you? Hello?
Can
you hear me?
I think we're a little bit pressed
Okay.
on time here, Cameraman, anyway. So thanks very much for joining us, mate. Good on you, and
Thank you,
well
thank
done on the win. Hope to talk to you again next weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, fantastic to hear from Cameraman there. We do have to cut things a little short, however, because we are heading into our next match. It's coming on us at a rate of knots. We're going to take a quick break, make sure everything's ready for Team 1 versus Santos. You're not going to want to miss this one, so stick around. Take a quick break. On the other side of this, more Siege coming at you.